All right, class, so we're going to go over Chapter 7 review. Pretty simple, straightforward, no big surprises. Your test tomorrow will be very short as well, too, so it will be nothing too complex. All right, ready? Here we go, one at a time. Remember, if you only have questions with a certain problem, skip ahead. Okay, problem 1 asks you to find the ratio of the slope of these 2 points. So you could do 2 things as I told you, as I showed you in class. Remember, this is point 1 and this is point 2. And then you would use your formula. Plug them in. So I'm going to just plug in just as I see them. Oh, and I messed up here, didn't I? There should be a little 2 right there. This is point 1, point 2, and so then I'm going to plug in the points. -1 minus 3 over 2 minus -4, like that. 2 minus -4. That is a -4, right? I believe it is. I'm pretty sure. Now I'm going to do the do here. I should have -1 plus -3. Over here, 2, do the do, change. So I get -4 over 6, which is -2/3. Okay, that one's done. Now the other way to do this would be the short way. Let me move everything out of the way. Here's a short way. Move one underneath the other one. And you're going to be really careful here, but if you're good at subtracting, subtract down. 2 minus -4, that's going to be, do the do, +6. -1 minus 3, that's going to be -4. And then all you do is, remember, you put the y on top, this is your y, and put the x on the bottom. And so your answer would be -4 over 6. Same answer. Okay, this is the shortcut. Up here is your long way. All right? Next one. It's asking, solve the proportion. I saw a lot of you basically have this written down, so if you have it done correctly, great. Proportion, basically, I'm going to do is cross multiply here. And remember, when you do 3x times 2x, whenever you multiply an x times an x, this is going to be squared. So here you should have 6x squared equals 32 times 3. And what's that? 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, now before I can do the square root, I have to actually first get rid of this 6. So I'm going to divide by 6. You get x squared equals, 6 goes into 96. I believe it's 16 times. Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to do this the long way. 6 goes into 1, 6, 3, 6, 6 goes 16, yeah, 16. Square root gets rid of this power. There's your answer. Okay, that's your proportion. Next one, number 3. Given that 6x equals 14y, find the ratio of y to x. So they want to know y to x. And what does that mean? It means that they want it y to x, like this. They want it written this way. But right now it's not written this way. I don't even see a y over x here. I actually see they're separated. So your job here is going to be to move stuff around so that you get it y over x. And to get this x underneath here, well, I could do something really simple and quick right now. I can get rid of this x by dividing by x and dividing by x. Now these x's over here are going to cancel. So these are canceling. So I get 6 equals 14y over x. Now, look at this. It almost looks like what I wanted up here. Almost. I just got to get rid of this 14. How do you get rid of this 14 here? Well, divide by 14, divide by 14. And there's your answer. 6 over 14 equals y over x. This is an answer. You could reduce this over here. This would be actually divided by what, 2? So it'd be 3 over 7. So this would actually be your answer. Okay, next one. There are 66 grams of protein in a 12-ounce serving of salmon. So let me write that ratio. That's a ratio right there. 66 grams of protein. I'm just going to put the little g here. Over 12 ounces. Ounces, I believe, it's a z, right? OZ equals. And then over here, let's see, what do I need? How many grams of protein in a 4-ounce? Well, just match up the ounces. 4 goes down here. I'm trying to figure out the x. Now, before I multiply these, cross multiply, I think it would be better to reduce this over here. Okay, so I'm going to reduce those. 66 and 12, well, I could reduce them by 6. So this would really be 11. This would be 2. So much more manageable now to solve. 4 times 11, well, that's 44 equals 2 times x, 2x. Divide by 2, divide by 2. 2 goes into 44, 22 times. Okay, there's your answer. Next one. Determine whether A, B, C and D, E, F are similar. If so, write the similarity ratio and the similarity statement. Okay, well, first of all, let me match up the sides that are congruent, or I'm sorry, not congruent, but similar. According to this says AB is congruent to DE. So let me see. AB is congruent to DE. There's the sides. Now what I'm going to do is set those sides equal to each other. 4.5, not equal, I'm sorry, like a ratio. 10.8. There's one. Let's do the next one. BC is right here. It's congruent to EF right there. So 5.4 over 9. 5.4 over 9. And the last one is these two, obviously. So I should have 3.2 over 6.4. Now, already I can kind of tell these are not looking like they're good ratios at all. Okay, so let's go ahead and figure out. I'm just going to go ahead and use my trusted calculator. Yes, I am going to use a calculator here. 4.5 divided by 10.8. And this ends up being about 0.416 with the bar. Okay, the next one over, 5.4 times, I'm sorry, divided by 9. This one actually is 0.6. And the last one that I have there, 3.2 divided by 6.4. This is, oh, Mr. Puebla, come on now. This is half. Okay, so all different ratios. Okay, none of these have the same similar ratios, so guess what? These things are not similar, okay? Not congruent, sorry, that's actually congruent, huh? I should have done not similar. Okay, next one. Jamestown, North Dakota claims to have the world's largest bison. Bison statue. The statue is 26 feet high, so let me see. Let me write some of this information down. 26 feet high, 46 feet long, and 14 wide. I have a feeling that this 14 wide, I don't even need it. I just have a feeling that, let's throw it in here, but do I really need that information? The statue is similar to an actual bison that is 6 feet tall. So tall, I'm going to say, well, the tall part, 6 feet tall. Let me ask you this. Does this seem like it would go up here on the proportion or down here on the proportion? Well, tall and high kind of seem to be like the same thing. It wouldn't go down here because tall and long, those are two different things. So I'm going to say tall and high. So there's your proportion. You can reduce this if you want here. I'm going to get 46 times 6. I'm just going to do it the long way, okay? 46 times 6. That's 276. And when you divide that by 26, you're going to get a nice little decimal. That's 10.6 or so equals x. Now, let me actually just go ahead and do the math real quickly because some of you guys were struggling with decimals earlier. So let me actually reduce these right here. Let me do this a long way. Reduce these by what? I'm thinking what? Does 4 work? No, 4 wouldn't work. Let's do it. Let's just start with the 2, just to be safe. Divide this in half by 2, so I'm gonna get 13 over. Divide this by 2, it's gonna be 23 equals 6 over x. That's gonna be 13x equals 23 times 6, and 23 times 6 is 138. I'm gonna divide both sides by 13, divide by 13, and let me do this part up here. 138 goes inside, 13 goes outside. And remember, I'm just giving you a little tutorial on decimals if you're bad at these. 13 into 13, well, 13 into 1 is 0. 13 into 13 is 1. That's 1 time 13, that's a 0. Bring down your 8. 13 into 8 is nothing. Decimal goes here, decimal goes here. Bring down another 0. 13 into 80, that's 6 times, and so forth, okay? And so I'm going to end right there, but there's your answer pretty much. It's asking to the nearest foot, though. So just be careful about that. This is to a certain foot, to the closest foot. Well, if you round up, this is really around 11 feet, I guess you can say. Okay, next one. Number 7, explain why the triangles are similar and write a similarity statement. Now, if you remember your theorems, side, angle, angle. What was the last one? I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. Even I'm having a hard time remembering that one. Side, angle, side, because I did SAS. And of course, side, side, side. Okay, so let's take a look at what they give us here. Well, number 1, I don't see 3 sides here that match 3 sides here. There's like no little tick marks or anything. So this one can be taken away right away. Again, there's no real sides here that show you that they're the same at all. So you can't tell me that they're the same. So right away I know that it's going to probably have to be this thing. Well, I only see one angle here. This one and this one. But there's one more hidden here, and hopefully you can see it. And remember, this is always a given right here. These are vertical angles. Okay? So because angle G, J, H, G, J, H is congruent to KJL, KJL, and because GHJ, GHJ is also congruent to angle JKL, JKL. I have 2 angles that are congruent to each other. Guess what? That's all I need. So because of these 2 things, I can use angle, angle theorem. Okay, and yes, these are similar. Okay, find SP. SP is, let's see, this long one right here. Okay, well, guess what? You can set up a proportion. Remember, though, you have to use same side. So I'm going to pretend, let's say, this really big triangle that's right here. Let me just kind of draw a picture of it. This long triangle, I'm going to use this one. And I'm also going to use this smaller one right here, because these 2 are the ones that are similar to each other. And I'm going to use these 2 to make my proportion. Okay. Now remember, this long side right here is 14. The long side is the one I don't know. What about this smaller one right here? Well, this one's 7, and this one's 12. You can make a proportion here. 14 is to this, as this is to this. There's so many combinations here. It's up to you how you want to write those out. I'm going to multiply these 2 across like this. 14 times 12, and what's that? 14 times 12 ends up being 168. X times 7 is 7x. Divide by 7, sorry. And you get x equals 24. Okay? You could have done this many ways again. I could have even done 7 is to 14 as 12 is to something. You could have done it that way. 7 is to 14 as 12 is to something. That would have worked still also. You could have done it 12 is to 7 as blank is to 14. So there's many ways to get this answer. All right, here we go, another one. Same exact thing. Okay, this actually can be set up very easily. Now they're trying to tell you to find out what BC is, this long one over here. It looks like we need to find out what the Y is. Okay, so we're given 4 different pieces of information. There's one right here, one right here, one right here, and one right here. So we can actually set this up several different ways. So let me actually figure out. Okay, so we're going to actually set this up in a really easy, simple proportion. You can actually just do this. Take this over this equals this over this. Very simple setup. Okay, now we need to do is do some little bit of math here. We're going to have to cross multiply here. 12.5 times this equals, to the other side now. Okay, I'm going to do is distribute. Distribute. What's 12.5 times 2? That's 25 equals 7.5 times 3. What's that? 22.5 y. And then minus, well, 7.5 times 2, that's going to be 15. Okay, now I'm going to do is bring stuff around. So I'm going to do, let's bring this minus 12.5 to the other side. And then what's that minus 12.5? We end up with good old 10y equals 25 minus 15. I'm going to add 15, add 15. Okay, we end up with, what's that? 30, 40. 40 equals 10. Y, divide by 10, and you get the idea. Y equals 4. Okay, but that's not an answer. What do they need to know? They want to know what BC is. What is BC? Question mark. Well, guess what? Now you can figure out what that is by taking this 4, and you can plug in this 4 right there, and you can plug in this 4 right there, and see how long this whole piece is. So 3 times y, 3 times 4 is 12, minus 2 is 10, and let's do this y right here. 4 plus 2 is 6, so this is 6. Altogether, BC is equal to 16. Okay, and that's your final answer. Okay, let's move on. Number 10. Find out what PR is. They want to know what this is right here. Okay, so guess what? Another proportion. These are, remember, very easily set up. Now, this is an angle bisector. Remember, when it's bisected like this, it creates some really neat proportions right here. And so there's tons of ways to set up this proportion. I'm going to show you the easiest one. The easiest one is to basically say this. This over this equals this over this. That's the easiest way to set this up. Okay, multiply 6 times 25. What's that going to be? Don't make me do that in my head, but if you must, and I will. Well, I know 4 times 25 is 100 times 2 more of these. Well, I'm at 150 equals 2 times 3 is 6. X squared, divide by 6, divide by 6. So now I have 150 divided by 6 is, well, guess what that is? 25 equals x squared. Do one last thing, which is do the square root. Square root. X equals 5. Now I want you to take this x, and guess what? That's not an answer, because you want to know what that is. 2 times 5 is 10. That's your answer. PR equals 10. right? Now, what if you had wanted to do it a little bit differently? Well, guess what? It's all foolproof. There's no way for you to really mess this up unless you absolutely, really, really mess it up. So here's another way to set it up too. You can even do this is to this as this is to this. It'll give you the same exact answer. Okay? There's really no way to mess this up as long as you know how to set up proportions. Just don't go crazy and do 6 over 25 equals this over this. That will not work. Okay? Got to make sure they're proportional. The ratios work. Okay, one afternoon, a student who is 5 feet 4 inches tall measured shadows to find the height of a telephone pole. The student's shadow was 5 feet long. At the same time, the shadow of the telephone pole was 18 feet 9 inches long. How tall is the telephone pole? Okay, so remember about this. I do not want to see a problem that has inches and feet in the same number. So I need to change this first. Okay, so let's change that first. Let's also change this one as well too into just inches. Let's just do inches. And same thing as this one too right here. I got to change this one to inches too. Otherwise, it's going to make my life a lot harder. So 5 times 12 is 60 plus 4. So a student is 64 feet tall. 64 feet, 64 inches tall. And let's see, how long is the shadow? 5 feet long. So that's 5 times 12 is 60. Okay. So remember, this is a shadow. And this is how tall he is. I'm just going to put him. Equals. What do I know here? Oh, this is a big number. What's 18 times 12? 18 times 12. I'm going to do the math. 18 times 12. 18 times 12. 216. Plus 9 inches. 225. So this is for the shadow. The shadow is 225. So where does this go? Well, I'm going to put it in the same spot as this other shadow. So I'm going to have 2, 2, 5 right there, and I'm trying to find out how tall that thing is. So now I have my proportion set. Let me bring this down. Hey, if it'll come down with me. And let's finish solving this. 64 times, well, that's too big of a number. Let me reduce this real quick. What's 64 divided by 2? That's 32. I could probably even do 4, can I? What's 64 divided by 4? Yeah, let's do 4. I'm going to reduce this by 4, guys. 64 divided by 4, that's 16. And 60 divided by 4, that's 15. These are a lot easier. What's 16 times 22? 5. Well, that's a huge number, isn't it? And 15 times x. Divide by 15. Divide by 15. Man, I may just let you use a calculator on this test. These are too long, huh? 240 inches. That's how tall this telephone pole is. Telephone pole is. This is the telephone pole. Oh, this looks horrible. But there's your little telephone pole with the wires. But, I know how tall this is. So 240 inches. Divide that by 12. 240 divided by 12. What's that? 24 feet. Right? Is that it? Let me see. One more. I think I have one more, don't I? Last one. Okay. Blueprint for an art gallery uses a scale of 1 to 4. There's my scale. 1 to 4. 1 inches to 4 feet. One of the rooms in the gallery measures 3.5 inches long. Okay, this is inches, so I know it's going to go up here. I'm going to write it 3.5. How long is the actual room? So you're trying to find out this one, because the actual room has to be in feet. So 3.5 times 4. 1 times x, 1x, that's x, so there's your answer. The actual room is 14 feet long. Okay, that's it, guys. Good job. I'll draw a fancy hand give you all thumbs up. Oh my gosh, that looks horrible. Oh my gosh, this is horrible. I'm drawing with the with the wireless pad, guys. So obviously I can't. Oh my goodness, this is horrible. Good job. Okay, good job, guys. Tomorrow is your quiz. Quiz tomorrow. Well, missing no I. Okay.